Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Ginny, Branden, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 57 of Riding in the Weeds. Today we are wanting to congratulate you because you are doing a great job. The point of this whole episode is life gets really chaotic. We feel like we're only just holding on. We're not getting all the things done. We've got 100 different things to do. There's people to see, there's appointments to have. And why is that happening right now? How do we not get stuck in the weeds? How do we not get all up in our heads that we suck and we're not doing it right and we should be X, right? This is what this episode is all about. So if you have been feeling a little bit like you were riding a bucking bronco lately, this is an episode for you, and I'm going to repeat. You are doing a great job, and we love you. We're going to celebrate the fact that you are managing. You are getting through each day, maybe feeling a little bit like you are holding on for dear life, but you're still holding on. You're still getting up. You're still doing the things. So why is this happening? Why does this happen at certain times of the year? What are little tips and tools and strategies that we can use to help us feel a little more grounded during these periods of stress, chaos, lots of stuff on the move? I am Natasha Lockey. I am your resident performance, life, and bike coach. I am here to help you have more fun and perform better and get to where you're going with a little bit more joy and a little bit more ease. And we have Ginny, our expert animal communicator and just an all-round amazing person who just gives such great insights to all of these things through her work with animals, her horses, and just being in it with us, running businesses and doing all the things. So, Ginny, what's going on? How come we are talking about how great a job everyone else is doing?
Because it's the reminder that we need for ourselves too. And that's really where this conversation came from, is both of us, I think, have been flying by the seat of our pants lately. And I know for you, this is your busy season. This is your big season with the bikes and everything going on. And for me, this is the season that everything needs to get done in because the sun is shining and it's not freezing cold. So the grass is growing, and that means it needs to be mowed frequently. And there's just a lot more work in the summer in my realm. I had commented to you in a message that I was feeling a bit bogged down lately, and that's where the bigger picture is helpful, that this is a season change. We're in a transition period here. The other big one is Christmas, the holidays, the New Year transition. So there's kind of 2 points in the year where you have this sort of big shift happen, and you're moving from one sort of way of being to another. If you've got kids, you're now dealing with summer break. And so there's a lot happening, a lot of moving parts. People are now changing their routines and going on vacation. So there's this general energetic disruption that happens this time of year. And it's easy, and this is where I was the other day, leaving you a message, to get bogged down in the like, what am I doing wrong? What am I not doing right? Why is it not working? Why do I feel like I can't make any progress right now? And get stuck in that. And that's what we're here to remind you, is that you're not really stuck. It's just this moment of suspension, like changing gears. There's that moment of suspension in there. And that's what we're in right now in the middle of all this.
Yeah. As we were writing the notes for the episode, I was like, why does this happen? And it came to me that there's 2 big times in the year when this happens. It's right before summer break, because as you were just saying, it's like kids are getting out for school. There's a holiday coming up, and then everyone's going on vacations. Everyone needs to get everything wrapped up before it gets hot. Before the long, lazy days of summer happen, we know we don't want to do anything. So let's get it all done now so that we've got a little bit of space when everybody's just wanting to sit on the patio and drink cocktails. We just feel like we've got to get it all done. The other time this really happens is right before Christmas. The two other things that are going on at that point is that June is the 6th month of the year. That means July is the 7th month. That means we are past halfway point. And you suddenly realize that, oh shoot, I don't know if I'm where I want to be on January 1st, 2000 and oh my goodness, 25. Am I on point? Am I on track? I'm probably not. So therefore I'm a failure, because we're looking at the ideal. We're not looking at our daily successes, and we just get all stuck up in our head. And then again, we get to Christmas and well, that's the end of the year. So that halfway point and then the actual end point both really throw us. They push us into that fear, into that guilt, into all of those emotions. I think we have micro versions of this when we go into the long weekend, because before and after the long weekend, again, you come in and you've got to get all the stuff done because next week's going to be a shorter week. That's where the back and forth happens for us. And understanding that we've done episodes on this before, like seasons, understanding that it's actually not you. It's what's going on around you. It's the collective energy. So obviously, if you can be aware of it's coming, you can manage yourself better. And if you're aware that it's happening, you can let go of the stuff. And it's the stuff. It's the meanings that we attach to it that is what throws us into the weeds. You're always talking about how our pets don't attach meaning, whereas we attach meaning to everything. It doesn't actually mean anything. And when it comes to biking, it's the same thing. Just because you didn't go over the rock, just because you didn't make it up around the corner, just because you had to stop for a rest halfway up the hill, that doesn't mean anything. But we're so good at attaching meaning to these things, which means that then we get stuck in the weeds, we get upset, we get concerned, we're worried. And then that right there is the stuck.
Yeah. That's where you're going to get bogged down and trapped in whatever you're doing. And I think that's so important to remember, is that things don't mean anything. Even if you're feeling like you are stuck or you're not making forward progress towards your goals or in your business, with your biking, with your pets, whatever it is, that sometimes there's going to be a moment of pause and shift, and it will feel like you're not really making progress. And that's okay. Can we just make it okay to be in that space for a little while and not worry about what's happening? Just continue to focus on the small steps instead of worrying about what we're not doing. Instead of focusing on the ideal and how we're not measuring up to the ideal, look at where we are in this moment and continue to make progress, even if those steps get smaller during certain times of the year because of all the other demands that are outside our own realm that are coming at us, whether that's the vacations, whether that's holiday, whether that's kids changing schedules, or even traffic flow is different this time of year if you live anywhere that's around traffic. I have to deal with holiday traffic of people wanting to go to the beach. So this time of year, I don't leave the house without checking the map to figure out which way I need to go, because otherwise I get stuck. And I don't want to be in that. So it's taking a second to check the map. Where are we? What do we need to do different to adjust, and continually adjusting? It can feel exhausting to think you have to keep changing things all the time, but it does get easier. It gets easier to adapt over time when you practice it.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things in there, as always. Is the ideal actually realistic? And I spend a lot of time during this time reminding myself, like, my days are ridiculous, and generally there's 4 hours of biking that's in my day. And so then I might get 4 hours of work on the computer done if I'm lucky. And then I feel frivolous because I booked a chiropractor appointment. Well, your day was chaotic because you booked a chiropractor appointment. That was just selfish personal stuff. That's not work. You didn't even get work done, Tash. You were off at the chiropractor. And I start to hear this going on in my head. And it's like, yeah, but you've not been on your bike for the last 2 weeks solid. Literally Saturday, I worked for 12 hours. Sunday, I worked for 4 hours. Friday, I worked for, I don't know, 6 hours. And most of that, like, that's on my bicycle, not to mention anything else. So for me to be then mad at myself because I'm not getting the office work done, I have to actually talk myself off of the ledge and be like, is this realistic? Is it normal for somebody to be doing that much physical activity and still be able to do 8 hours of office work in a day, or even 2 hours of office work? Not to mention I have no admin staff, so I'm trying to move my business forward whilst trying to answer 50 billion phone calls. But those don't count because they're not focus work. That's the monkey mind that goes on. And if I relate that to mountain biking, if I'm teaching somebody to be able to create more time on their bike and to be more balanced on their bike, I'm going to tell them that when you're not in the crazy, like when you're not trying to get through something that requires all of your attention and all of your focus to just get to the other side of that piece of terrain, as soon as you get to the other side, you rebalance, you reassess, heels down, strong core, you put yourself back together and you get ready for the next bit, which is exactly the advice that I need to be giving myself right now for that same thing, because I'm in it. We're all in it. Life is going so quickly right now. And if you have a moment to breathe, we got to take it. It's not the moment right before you leave the house where, okay, well, I can throw a bunch of laundry on, I can empty the dishwasher, I can clean this. Well, what if you actually just sat down and breathed for 5 minutes and then left the house on time? And now not late because you thought in that 5 minutes you could do a whole lot of other things.
Yeah, I have to laugh because I'm really bad about doing things like that, just rushing from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And yet stopping and breathing would give me so much more space to be able to prioritize, to be able to organize myself, to be able to actually assess what is needed in this moment. Your chiropractor example is perfect because that appointment is going to make a difference as to whether or not you can actually keep biking. So at that point, it becomes essential that you receive the body work and that you receive the ability to take a break and allow your body to be rejuvenated so that you can keep working. So that becomes even more important than whatever office administrative paperwork. All that can usually wait. And frequently we do put it off for an awful long time. So what's one more day at that point, right? How often does that happen? That usually falls into the list of things we avoid, which was a previous episode. So the thing I think we have to remember here is, especially when we're working on leveling up, and especially when we're working on goals and achieving things, whether that's on our bikes or in our businesses or with our pets or whatever, when you're working on that, your nervous system has to have time to adapt to whatever that new change or new level is. So if you keep pushing straight through, eventually your nervous system is going to get fried. And that's when the all stop happens, and it usually gets ugly from there. So that's when your body breaks down, you get sick, something happens that prevents you from being able to do anything towards any goal in life. Sometimes even basic things like making your own meals. It's really important to remember that you need to allow your nervous system to catch up. It's like that moment of suspension when you're changing gears on the bike. You need that moment, that pause, to be able to allow the gear to drop into place in the bike to continue forward. And if you allow your nervous system the same time to shift into the new way of being, or with the new schedule or new goals that you have or whatever it is, the more grace you can give yourself around that time, the easier it's going to be in the long run, because you're just going to float through that moment instead of pushing and pedaling and trying to do things, which on a bike will only scramble your gears and make things worse. Ask me how I know that part.
Well, yeah, and it's like last night when I was out on a ride and it's like there's 4 corners. Most people can make it through the first corner. You can probably make it through the second corner. But if you haven't done the first corner and the second corner correctly and you haven't actually exited the corners, you're not making it through the third corner. And when you're doing a corner on your bike, there are 3 parts of the corner. You have to enter, there's the turning point, and then there's the exit. And most people forget the exit because the exit is exactly what we're talking about. The exit is the point at which you rebalance, you recenter, you put yourself on the trail, put yourself where you need to be in order to do whatever needs to happen next. And if you don't exit, if the corner gets too tight and you will not make it round because there's not enough room. So we come into the situation, we're at the turning point, we're dealing with the middle of the situation, and then we're like, okay, coming out. And that's the breathing point, that's the recenter, that's the rebalance before you have to head into the next one. If you don't do that, you get scrambled. And then eventually you're just making stupid decisions. This is actually a good time for me to tell a really fun story. Our second to last episode, Ginny and I recorded it, and it's all about slowing down to speed up. I literally left that episode. We recorded it. I went out into the world. I forgot to return my phone on. So my phone was still on Do Not Disturb. And I had a vehicle that was at the mechanics, and it needed to come out at 4 o'clock to go and do another job. And it was all perfectly timed, and I was just expecting it to all go perfect. And it didn't. And I went straight to a bike camp. Didn't turn my phone back on. So I didn't know that people were calling me all afternoon to try and manage this problem and get my approval to do the other repairs that needed to be done. And so then at 5:05, when everybody's closed, I realized that I've got all these things that I missed. And I went straight into reaction. Completely scrambled because I was already scrambled. I didn't take a moment to breathe. And I made a series of not bad decisions, but I could have made better decisions. And it was so funny because the next morning I'm doing my yoga workout and I suddenly realized that there was a way better way I could have handled the situation. And then moments after that, I realized that I had literally done the exact thing that we had talked about our podcast being about: stopping, taking a breath, slowing down in order to speed up. And repeating ourselves basically here, this is the exact same thing. Allowing yourself that moment and then just remembering that you're doing a really good job. Celebrating, not beating yourself up for all the things you didn't get right, but actually just really celebrating the fact that you got everything you did get right.
Yeah. I think this is one of those moments where it's really important to just decide that the way things are going is the way it's meant to be. And the next steps will reveal themselves when they come. And that maybe there was a reason you missed all those calls that day. Who knows? You may never know. But it happened, and then move on. Not attaching meaning to that situation and allowing it to just be what it is, and then keep moving on so that we're not getting bogged down in the situation. You very easily could have gotten sucked into it and beat yourself up all night because you forgot to turn your phone on, and that would have been a gross waste of energy at that point. So maybe you didn't pause like would have been as beneficial, but you also didn't go down a rabbit hole of deciding that you're the worst person in the world because you forgot to turn your phone on. Which, this is just a great reminder to remember to turn my phone on when we're done with this, because I forget too.
And we totally discussed that before our call today. And one of our upcoming episodes is going to be on exactly that, like how not to go down that rabbit hole of beating yourself up and how to let go of the things that have happened. And I kind of want you to just repeat what you just said, if you can remember what you just said about trusting. Or maybe I'll just repeat it if I can remember it, but you said it so well. Trusting that what happened was what was meant to happen. And trusting that the next steps are the exact ones that need to take place. And that is so a space that I'm in right now. And to anyone that needed to hear that, trust. Trust that it's actually every lesson, everything. And that's what I found so interesting about that situation. When I look back, I'm like, honestly, the amount of times, and just before we jumped on the call, what was really funny is I said to Ginny, I'm like, this is sped up. A couple of episodes ago, it took about a day or so for me to be right in the situation that we had been talking about that gets you stuck in the weeds. Last time, it was literally within hours. And then today, while we were getting ready for the call, Ginny was actually in this exact situation of managing things that weren't where we needed to be, when they needed to be. And we both had to take a deep breath and just be like, oh, and this is why we're doing this episode today. So we're getting better. It's the timeline of when the lessons for us are coming are speeding up. This is a reminder for you, for us, for everyone, that you're doing a great job. And yeah, really just trusting. And when you can stop and breathe and ground, that trust becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. And I think the other part of this, to reconnect to that slow down to speed up idea, is that you don't have to move that fast. Our world is moving faster, and it is so difficult to keep up with all of the things that are bombarding us constantly, our notifications. These are topics we've talked about before, so if you want more, go back a couple episodes. But we are constantly being bombarded with information from so many different sources. And sometimes the best thing to do is shut it off, is to literally make the choice that, you know what, I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's not important. And to just shut out certain things if they're not serving you in a way that's useful or helpful. You don't have to go at the speed of light just because everyone else around you is. If that's not helpful to your nervous system, then don't do that. It feels difficult to buck the system because that's just the way our world works right now. But it could mean the difference between your success and struggle. And so sometimes taking that moment to breathe, like the lazy days of summer, like, does that even exist anymore? Is that even a thing anymore? Do we allow ourselves to have that time to take the space, to allow our nervous systems to adapt, to allow ourselves to have some downtime? Like, can you take a little bit more space rather than rushing through everything and thinking it has to be done immediately? Because I'm pretty sure if you look through most of the tasks, most of them are not nearly as time sensitive as either we've been led to believe or they feel like they are. And if you can take a little more space, sometimes that can help reset things just as effectively as anything else. Just slow down a little bit.
Yeah, it's an incredibly good reminder. And again, as we were talking about this episode, I was telling Ginny, like, the last few days, people have been calling me at 8 o'clock in the morning for things that are not urgent, but they think they are. And so what is my phone doing on at 8 o'clock? If they were calling the office, I would not be answering. And it just happens that now the office phone is ringing through to mine. So I'm answering the phone at 8 o'clock in the morning for somebody that needs something changed in 2 months. I don't need to answer that call. They can leave a message. And I've also had repeatedly lately people calling me 3 times in a row because I haven't picked up on their first phone call. And again, the expectations of other people are theirs. And unless it is something that is urgent to you in the moment, you don't need to pick up that phone call. They think it's urgent. They should be leaving a message, sending an email, or calling back in an hour if they haven't had. And notice yourself. Are you doing that to other people? Are you calling? I needed to get a hold of someone yesterday, and I called him. He didn't answer. And so then I left it for a few minutes, and I felt so bad calling him a second time. And he answered the phone. He's like, oh, hey, sorry, I missed your call. I was in the basement. I'm like, no worries. I was calling back just to make sure that maybe that had been the case. But had he not picked up, I would have not called him again. And I would have sent him a text message, or I would have just decided whatever it was I needed wasn't that important. But I think that's the thing. For me, number one, phones are doing weird things right now. So somebody might have put their phone down and they didn't get to it in time. And so if you actually need to talk to them, calling a second time Like, you actually have something important, that's okay. But a third time, to me, is like overstepping, and we are doing it to other people, and people are doing it to ourselves, but we don't have to accept it. If we can put boundaries up for our behavior towards others, and also if we've got boundaries, then we're able to execute those same boundaries, I think, towards others. But set your boundaries, and then, as Ginny said, turn it off, because the expectation that we're available the whole time is creating the expectation that we are available the whole time, and that's not acceptable. We can't continue to do this to each other, because then we're all walking around thinking that we're not okay. Our emotional bodies are completely stressed. I've been taking this product. It's called Happy Juice. This company has created this product because our mental health is taking such a hit that we're now needing a supplement to help us maintain our cortisol, to maintain our anxiety, to be able to sleep at night, because we're shattering our gut health. Our brain that's in our gut isn't able to regulate, and so therefore we need help. And it's working, it's great, but there are other ways to manage this. You can't just take a magic pill. It's got to be coupled with changing the behavior.
Yeah. And this kind of brings up some points that in the work that I do with the animals, that just because your pet is experiencing higher energy levels, whether that's because they're excited about something or they're anxious about something or whatever it is, doesn't mean that you have to participate in that energy. And that is a very challenging skill to learn. It's taken me years and years and years of working on myself to figure out how to not engage in that kind of energy. But it's very doable. And you can use that same principle with other people. Just because someone is calling you frantically with something that they think is an emergency doesn't mean it has to be an emergency on your part. And it doesn't mean you have to engage in that energy. And when they can calm down and when they can be rational, then we can start to have a conversation. But even with your pets, if they're in too much of a heightened state, nothing that you do or say is really going to get through anyway. So there's really no point in doing anything other than holding space and grounding in the moment. And if we can work on ourselves with that, this is kind of like put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Are you managing your own energy levels and your own nervous system in that situation? Because if you can take that step and do that first before you engage with someone else, the results will be so much different. They'll be so much better for everyone, and you won't be perpetuating that energy cycle. And again, it's like bucking the system. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of work in the beginning to do that. But once you start to master those techniques, then you start to gravitate towards that and away from whatever it is, like the external influences that pull you out of that center. It's like being the eye of the storm. When you're in the middle, it's calm and quiet. The storm can rage around you, and that's fine. It can do its thing, but it's not part of your energy in the middle. And that tool is something that practicing that on a regular basis through meditation, through mindfulness-based practices on a daily active basis, frequently throughout the day, can really help to make a big difference over time, but it takes practice. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of thought in the beginning. Once you get through that, though, it starts to become habit, and then it feels good, and then you want to do that more.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the me, the you, the us. If there's no me, then there's no you. Like me, I've got to take care of myself. Then I can be where you need me to be, and then we have an us. If you're not worried about me, there's no us. If I'm not worried about you, there's no us. But we've got to start with ourselves, and yeah, like stepping into that fear and stepping into the storm is just has you raging around, and you become the person that's just always there, and people expect that from you. I've been making a lot of decisions in my business lately that are like, okay, well, nobody's been needing these services up until now, so I'm making decisions based on that. And so if people are now deciding they want those services, well, I'm sorry, but I need to take care of what I need and see if that's available for what you need. And I think just everything you said there was like, if you can bring yourself into the center. The other thing I was going to say is my practice. I'm now at like day 21, and I've created this morning practice around my 10 minutes of meditation. And the last couple of mornings I've been really tired. I've been staying up too late chatting with my friend that I'm staying with. And so at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to get up. And then I'm like, okay, yes, but what does it look like further down in the day? Are you going to be able to do your yoga or stretching so that everything doesn't hurt? Probably not. I'm definitely not going to be doing any push-ups anymore any other time of the day. My Duolingo practice is really important to me, and that's not going to happen any other time of the day. And I might be able to squeeze in the meditation, but that's probably not going to either. So that's the conversation I've started to have in my head. It's like, yes, I could stay in bed for another 45 minutes. But is that going to serve me as well as me getting up and just starting going through the motions of this routine that I've created that takes about 45 minutes? And when I'm looking into the future vision, I can actually start to be like, okay, you know what? It's going to be better on the other side. And they say that most people quit things at day 19. So I have literally day 17 to day 21 have been hard. And I've done it. But it's purely just been by putting myself, exactly what you're saying, putting myself in the eye of the storm and saying, okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to create this peace for myself, because if I don't, I will be stepping into the storm, and I won't have an umbrella, and I won't have a raincoat, and I am not going to be able to perform at my best and create those boundaries and create all of those things that need to happen, and it will just be an absolutely chaotic day. So I love that. And I think for me that we could go for hours on this topic as per usual. I think you summed it up really well. And I think just that eye of the storm concept is where we could leave it. And I'm just going to repeat that you are doing an incredibly great job. You are here, you're in it. And the only way you can get stuck in the weeds is if you do not realize just how well you are coping. And then start to think about, okay, if this didn't work, how can I do better? I created chaos for myself by forgetting to turn my phone off, do not disturb. What can I do this week that is going to avoid that from happening? And just small incremental improvements, moment by moment, will get you further than trying to make radical changes based on fear and based on guilt and based on feeling like you didn't. I read something on Instagram the other day. It was Mel Robbins. She was saying that we will get further through celebration, through giving ourselves a good pat on the back, through really grounding into what we did do awesome and what we can continue to do well, than we will ever do by beating ourselves up. You do not get places by looking in the mirror and telling yourselves that you look fat and you need to eat less food. It's not going to work. I sucked at that rock roll. I just need to be a better biker. That is not going to make you want to get better. I'm a shitty dog parent. I need to do better. None of these things are going to motivate you to be better. You're just going to feel worse about yourself. Whereas if you can celebrate every single time, because you've got this and you're awesome and we love you. And if no one else tells you today, like, you are awesome, we love you and you've got this. All right. What about you, Ginny? You have anything else to share?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. You do got this.
I have a reminder on my computer actually that pops up every day and says, Tash, you got this.
Nice.
And quite often when it pops up, I go, oh, you're right. Okay, I've got this. So here's a little tip. Put a reminder on your phone that pops up daily at 9 o'clock in the morning, or at whatever point in your day you start to lose it and doubt yourself, that says, Tash, you've got this, or whatever your name is. Probably don't say, Tash, you've got this. Or send me a message. I'll appreciate that as well. And actually send a message to one of your friends. And when you're in the middle of it and you're feeling like, oh my goodness, send a message to someone who has similar stuff going on and send them a message. Be like, you know what? I think you're awesome. I just wanted you to know that you've got this today and I'm sending you a big hug. And I guarantee you that will change your life and it will change theirs as well. So with that, I am Natasha Lockey. I am a life and performance mountain bike coach. If you are wanting to perform better, if you are wanting to really step into your dreams, but you don't know how to, you don't believe it's possible, I'm here to tell you it is. And I'll help you formulate a way for you to stick to finding the skills, the tools, and the things that you need to actually get to where you want, whether it's in your life, your career, your business, or on your mountain bike, or all of the above. I gotcha. You can find me at Betty Go Hard on Instagram, Natasha Lockey on Facebook and LinkedIn. And you can find Riding in the Weeds at ridingintheweeds.com. We are on all major platforms and we have an Instagram of the same handle. Ginny.
Yeah, I'm Ginny Branden. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you are struggling with your pet relationships, please reach out to me. I would be happy to support the two of you so that you can get back to more harmony together. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the same handle. So you've got this. We love you and you're doing a great job. Just keep going with those little baby steps and you will get to your goals before you know it. So we appreciate you being here with us today and look forward to seeing you next time.
And if you know anybody that might appreciate hearing this message too, please share this episode with them and leave us a review. Thank you. Have a great day.